All right, welcome everyone to Think Productive's webinar, How to Stop Procrastinating Tomorrow. My name is Matt Cowdroy. Most of you know me from previous sessions we've done, but if you're watching the recording, welcome to this session. I hope you enjoy the recording. But we are live today, and it's a real pleasure to have so many of you joining me live on this wet, rainy day on the east coast of Australia. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land of which we all meet on today. We're coming from many different parts of the country today, and I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and their elders past, present and future, and thank them for their custodian of the land for so many thousands of years. Welcome to this webinar. As I mentioned, my name is Matt Cowdroy. Here are my contact details for you. You're very welcome to take a screenshot of this or a photo and get in touch with me with any questions you may have after the session today. You can also follow us on social media. There's no sales pitch today. There is no special offer. There's none of that. Today is purely about sharing ideas and sharing content with you that can help support you, particularly if you've already done one of our Productivity Ninja sessions. But if not, this information will be very useful for you anyway. And I love talking about this. I don't necessarily love dressing up as a ninja. So when I did, it was worth taking a photo. That's what we look like dressed up as ninjas. So everything I'm about to talk about, or most of what I'm about to talk about, comes from How to Be a Productivity Ninja, this book by Graham Alcott. This book changed my life when I read it about 7 years ago, and I contacted Graham and launched Think Productive Australia, which is the Australia and New Zealand part of Graham's global business, Think Productive. And we roll out our Productivity Ninja training here with the benefit or with the outcome we're looking for of helping you manage your stress, helping you enjoy your work, helping you enjoy your life. Now, all of you that attend today will get access to our Productivity Ninja Academy. I'll be sending a follow-up email with your membership to that. You can get in there, you can download a copy of the book. You'll get a 3-month membership to get in and have a play in there. In the Academy, there's all sorts of little courses and libraries of reading and articles and videos and all sorts of things in there you can look at to help support you with your productivity. Now, firstly, what is procrastination? That's what we're talking about today. I was procrastinating about wearing this shirt. Just a little personal story. I've never worn this shirt for a webinar or a Zoom call because I was always worried about what it would do on the screen. So instead of testing it, trying it, I procrastinated. I put it off, thinking it may not work. So today I just decided to wear the shirt. I could see that it doesn't quite work, but this is the thing. Getting through procrastination is just having a go. But procrastination, so many people want to know what it is, how to help with it. There are about 1.5 million Google searches for something about procrastination every month around the world. Everyone's procrastinating by looking at Google and saying, how do I help myself with procrastination? And 1.5 searches a month. Now, I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat while we're live here, because I can see some comments possibly going in there. If you want to put things in the chat, you're very welcome to do that. Let's just have a look at this. Sorry, just pausing here. All right, everyone's just putting in where they're joining from. Thank you. That's great. Definition of procrastination: a delay in conjunction with subjective discomfort. Now, that's a bit confusing to me, but it's like putting something off because we think it's going to be uncomfortable. Putting something off because we think it's going to be uncomfortable. The illogical delay of behavior. I like this definition. The illogical delay of behavior. It's like, why do we procrastinate on something when we know we should be doing it? It's something we should be moving forward with. Self-harm, that's a pretty heavy definition, but it's a form of self-harm because we're putting things off that are probably only going to cause us stress in the future. I recently read Atomic Habits by James Clear, really good book about habits. And he talks about the reason we often prefer to do things that we like rather than things we should do is the things that we like, maybe that eating the bad food, for example, the things that we like, they're fun now, but the benefit is in the future. Whereas the things that are good for us, it's often harder work now, but the benefits in the future. I might have got that the wrong way around, sorry. We do things that are bad for us because they're good now, they feel good now, and we don't worry about the future. Why do we put off things that are good for us? because they're harder now and the benefits in the future. And he talks about our future self. I'm sorry if I confused that a little bit there. Our future self is what we're working towards all the time, but we're often putting these things off to the detriment of our future self. So why do we procrastinate? I just want to ask you all, I just want to do a little poll here and see how often we procrastinate. Let's just get you all to have a look at this. This is an anonymous poll. You'll see it pop up on the screen there. How often do you procrastinate? I'm curious to see. Let's do a little bit of research in the group here today. Yeah, most of you are saying every day. I can see that. Thank you. Beautiful. Most of you have voted now. So there we go. 67% say every day, 33% every week for sure. None of you said never, and none of you said only a few times a year. So obviously we are all struggling with this same stress around procrastinating, this same habit of procrastinating. So why do we procrastinate? So we've got this lizard brain, our amygdala. Our amygdala is this part of the brain which makes us scared. It's this reptilian part of the brain that makes us really conscious of danger, really conscious of doing things that might make us look silly. So when this reptilian brain is activated, it's called an amygdala hijack. When we're having this amygdala hijack, which is when we're stressed, we procrastinate because we get into this state of fear. What might happen? What might go wrong? Now, if you've done some of our productivity ninja training with me, you might have done the breathing exercise where we reset this amygdala hijack. And all the breathing exercise is having a nice long exhalation and a natural inhalation. So if you inhale for a count of about 3, exhaling for a count of 4 or 5, and doing a few of those breaths, and we can start to calm down this reptilian response that we have and help us think more clearly, help us move forward with our tasks. Now, this model, when we are procrastinating, it's really good to think about why. Now, this model actually comes from a book written by Graham Allcott, who wrote The Productivity Ninja, but this comes from his book called Study Ninja. Really useful model for working through when we're procrastinating, why we're procrastinating, and what to do about it. So some things are just difficult. And when they're difficult, we put them off. So we might need to ask for help. We might need to get someone else to support us with this. We might even need to get someone else to do it because it might be totally outside our skill set. Some things are undefined. For me, that might have been something like tax return. If I have tax return on my to-do list, it seems too hard, it seems too big. So I need to sit and define that down into little things. What do I need to do? Call the accountant, find out what information the accountant needs so they can move forward. So just breaking it down into smaller chunks can really help. Some things are scary, and I talked about the lizard brain. These scary things, we put them off because we're scared of finishing, or we're scared of starting, because when we start or finish this thing, we start getting feedback. And getting feedback we don't like. Getting feedback is scary. Getting judged is scary. In this book, I've just got one more book to show you here. In this book, Linchpin by Seth Godin, he talks about, Linchpin by Seth Godin, he talks about things being scary. And he has this lovely little mantra, or this little phrase, which is ship it, ship it. And Seth talks about shipping, keep shipping things, which is just keep things moving. Don't worry, just keep things moving. The world's not going to end if there's a typo or a spelling mistake or something wrong with what you've done. He talks about artists, and if you're an artist or a painter, the moment comes when you have to say, I'm finished that painting, I'm hanging it on the wall. And when I hang that painting on the wall, I'm going to get judged for sure. So it's that idea of just do it, just ship it, keep shipping. And some things are tedious. When they're tedious, if we've decided when we're doing our priorities and setting ourselves up for our day and our week, and I'll talk about that a bit later. But if we've decided these things are important, even if they are tedious, we just have to get them done. And doing things like setting a timer, having an accountability buddy, these kind of things can help. So this is the DUST model. I presented this to some school teachers last week, and one of them came up with this idea of dust it off, dust it off. If you're watching the webinar today, thank you for that idea. Dust off the procrastination, or dust off ourselves and get on with it. Really good way to get through when we're stuck. To me, this is a critical part of today's session, this DUST model, because it can really help us think through and work through our procrastination. Now I'll just switch over to the chat here, see if there's any questions or comments coming through. Feel free to use the chat to communicate with each other or to communicate with me. Procrastinating right now, says Anne. Yeah, doing this webinar, Anne. Okay, well, I hope not. I hope it's useful. Stacey, thanks, Stacey. Stacey's put a quote in here about procrastination: the action of ruining your life for no apparent reason. Yeah, that's great. I love that. Now, if you're using the chat, you can change the setting to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your comments, and then you can actually chat with each other if you like as we go. Otherwise, just keep the chats coming to me. All panelists, that's totally fine. All right, let's talk about the second brain. The second brain is a system where we keep all our tasks, our actions, our projects. We talk about this in our sessions when we talk about doing the brain dump and building this second brain. We also call it your master actions list. It's like your to-do list, but it's your to-do list with everything on it. It's the data that we can use to manage our life. Now, if we have a good second brain, which could be just a notebook with some lists in it, or it could be a digital thing, it could be Outlook tasks, it could be something like OneNote or Evernote. But if we have a good second brain, this helps us with procrastination because we can see clearly what we need to work on and we're not just keeping it all stuck in our head. Now, if you want some help with that, you can contact me after the session. In this second brain, we keep our data. Now, it's important to be thinking about this data at different levels. Our projects list is the list of all the things we're working towards. The project list is a really good summary list of all the things that are going on in our life, but that's a high level. And then the master actions list is within each of those projects. What are the things we need to do next? What are the actions we need to do? So it's a bit like a tree. If you see this digitally, or you've got your different folders, which are your projects, and within each project, you've got your task. As I say, you don't have to do it digitally. You can do it with pen and paper. The important thing is getting everything out of your head and into this second brain with some structure, with some clear actions, so you know what you need to do next. Now, when we're thinking about being effective in our day, it's good to think about our energy flow throughout the day and our attention flow. In the Productivity Ninja book, Graham talks about 3 levels of attention: proactive, active, and inactive. We only get about 2 hours of proactive attention a day. This is when we're at our best. This is when we've got our most energy, our most focus. When we get those 2 hours, and for most people that's in the morning, but not everyone, when we get those couple of hours of proactive attention, it's really important that we don't do other things to chew up that time. We don't want to have too many meetings, make too many phone calls. That's when we really want to get stuck into our work and get it done. And I've got some techniques to help with that shortly, including using a timer like this chicken. So I'll talk about that shortly. Active attention is most of the rest of the time. We're in flow, we can have meetings, we can do things, our brain's working. Inactive attention is probably half an hour to an hour a day. When we're tired, burnt out, we either need to have a break, do something different, or just do some of those low energy tasks like some filing or possibly even some low stress phone calls. So it's good to think about our energy and our attention throughout the day and planning our day accordingly. This can really help with our procrastination, because one of the reasons we might be procrastinating, one of the reasons something might feel difficult, is we're trying to do something that needs a lot of energy and attention, but we're not in our best state. So it's good to be thinking about this. To help us get focused when we're in this proactive attention stage or any time of the day, there's a technique called the Pomodoro Technique, which is using a timer to work in sprints. That's what the little chicken's for. Now, honestly, the little chicken's not very good, because when you set the timer, it ticks, like tick, 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 and it drives me crazy. I just use the countdown timer on the phone. But the technique here is manage all your distractions. I put my phone on flight mode, turn your Outlook offline, set the timer for about 25 minutes or whatever time frame works for you, and work and focus for that amount of time until the buzzer goes off, and then you have a short break. So this is the Pomodoro technique. It's called Pomodoro because it was invented by an Italian. Pomodoro means tomato, and he used a little tomato timer to do this. Now, I heard something recently which was a build on this, which was do the Pomodoro technique, but at the start of every sprint, You have an accountability buddy. And at the start of every sprint, you send that accountability buddy a message or a text saying, this is what I'm working on for the next 25 minutes. And then at the end of the 25 minutes, you check in and tell them what you did. You don't have to respond. They do the same to you. It seems like a lot of work, but it would keep you focused. I'm yet to trial that, but I will. I only heard this a couple of weeks ago, like this kind of build on this idea of the Pomodoro technique. Now, this can really help with procrastination because not only are you doing the sprints, but you've got this accountability as well to someone else. Another concept around procrastinating is eating frogs. This was first talked about by Mark Twain, popularized by Brian Tracy in his book, Eat That Frog. The idea of frogs is if your frog is that thing you're procrastinating about, how do you get it done? When's the best time to eat that frog? Straight away, before it gets bigger. Now, eating frogs is a good language to use with teammates, colleagues, because if you ask someone, what are you procrastinating about? The brain kind of goes into shutdown. Oh, I'm not sure. But if you ask, what's your frog? They might have a better response. And if we ask ourselves, what's our frog? We're likely to have a better response too, which is a more proactive response. Now, one of our ninjas in the UK, Grace, I once heard her say, if you eat a frog first thing in the morning, everything else in that day will taste sweet. And I love that. If you eat a frog first thing in the morning, everything else in that day will taste sweet. Like all the other things you have to do, easy, you'll just get them done. Now, this checklist is our daily checklist that we recommend you use at the start of the day. Now, you can download this from our website. I'm going to put in the chat a link for you where you can actually, I'll do it at the end, where you can download this from our website. The idea of this checklist is setting yourself up at the start of the day with what we call boss thinking, planning the day, putting 5 things on a Post-it note. Doing this at the start of the day, getting those 5 things written on a Post-it note is a really key way of keeping you focused and helping you get through any potential procrastination. Now, just let me look at the chat here, sorry. Okay, great. Great, some lovely comments in there. A cave day, yeah, that's right, Melissa. Thank you, famous book called The Leopard. Yep, swallowing a toad, yeah, some great. Thank you for your comments in the chat. It's great, it adds more color to what I'm saying. This daily checklist, if you're feeling busy, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling a bit out of control, it's quite easy to skip this. So the little story I like to share about this process is something I once heard a meditation teacher say. And they said, everyone should meditate for 10 minutes a day. And if for those that can't meditate for 10 minutes a day because they don't have time, they should meditate for an hour, right? You know what I'm getting at there. It's the same with this. I believe everyone should do this at the start of their day. But if you can't do this because you think you're too busy or you don't have time, then it's even more important that you do this. So this checklist can really help with what we call boss thinking, setting yourself up for success for the day. All right. Going into stealth mode. One of our ninja characteristics is stealth and camouflage. Going into stealth mode can really help with blocking out distractions. This is a key part of helping with procrastination. Turn the phone on flight mode or do not disturb. Turn your Outlook offline if you use Outlook. You'll see the little button at the top there, the work offline button. That is a really critical step in Outlook, in email management if you use Outlook. If you use Gmail, you can still run Gmail offline. It's a bit more complicated. Contact me if you want some help on that. Also on the screen here is an app called Forest. Forest is a timer, similar technique to that Pomodoro technique I was using and talking about, but it's just a cute little timer on the phone that plants little trees when you achieve your goals. And if you don't achieve your goals because you navigate away from the app, the tree dies, right? So it's a gimmick, but if it encourages you to use the technique of a timer, it's really worthwhile. So that's the Forest app. It costs $3 or $4. But as I say, if it makes you use it and use this idea of a timer, I highly recommend it. You can also have Forest groups or Forest rooms, I think they're called, and do this with others, which is another way to bring in that external accountability. Now, the other thing that helps with procrastination is doing a weekly review. In the book, in the Productivity Ninja book, which you can all get from the Academy, which I've already suggested or mentioned, you'll all get a membership to the Academy. Download the book, have a read about the weekly review. The weekly review is a once a week process of stopping and pausing, looking back, reflecting on what's been happening, doing some planning ahead, catching up on all the mess and the chaos that you've created during the week. Doing this weekly review can really help us identify and uncover what we're procrastinating about. It can also really help us get focused on what's important moving forward. So the weekly review is an important technique. Now, one of the things we say at Think Productive is Ninja Unorthodoxy is about trying things. And if you're thinking that might work, but I'm not sure if I'll give that a try, just try it. The best way to learn is to just try it and see if it works for you. It is a huge stress reduction doing the weekly review, because it enables you to gather everything together and find out, what's the playing field? What am I doing here? Where am I at? If we don't know where we're at, we can't plan for where we're going. So it's a really important part of the process. Now, when we're thinking about procrastination, it's really good to think, what are my motivations? What are my internal motivations? Create some momentum by thinking about why you're doing things. What's my motivation for getting this done? Is it important? Why is it important? What goal is it helping me achieve? This will help me get some internal motivation. But for some of us, that's not quite enough. For some of us, we need some extrinsic motivation or external motivation, which is this idea of having an accountability buddy. Put something in someone else's calendar saying, this is the deadline. I'll be checking in with you and telling you that I've achieved my deadline on this. Let other people know what you're up to. It says here, get other people to help force it out of you. But it really is about just getting other people to support you by bringing them in. This idea of the accountability buddy linked with the Pomodoro Technique is quite a nice one, I think. So I heard it was called the 25-55 because you can do it at 25 past the hour and 55 past the hour. I haven't even Googled it yet because I only heard about it recently. Another part of procrastination is thinking, just why are we doing what we're doing? If we're stuck on this rock face and it really feels like it's hard work, I'm stuck down here in the weeds and I'm really getting stuck here. Think about your bigger picture. This is this intrinsic motivation piece. Think about the bigger picture. Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you working towards? And as you can see on the screen here, these last few steps will really make the difference. And understanding that we can't do everything. We talk about ruthlessness in Productivity Ninja Land. Ruthlessness is starting to push back, starting to say no to some things. We just can't do everything. Now, I'm not talking here about lowering our expectations of our goals and our dreams and our ambitions and what we're achieving. We don't need to lower those, but lowering our expectations of being able to do everything. This is a really key thing here. All the social stuff, all the work stuff, all the fitness stuff, all the health stuff, all the reading, all the writing, we can't do it all. So we need to start being really careful about what's our focus and what are our goals. Now, the good thing about this is we are human, we're not superheroes, and we talk about this a lot with our human, not superhero ninja. Sometimes when you get more productive, and the way I like to share this is if you do 3 things as a result of this session, and each of those 3 things gives you an extra 5 to 7% improvement in your productivity. If you do those 3 things, you'll get a 20% improvement in your productivity, which is 1 day a week. Now that 1 day a week can be a huge amount of overtime that you no longer have to do. Or it can be a huge amount of stress that you're carrying with you on the weekend, thinking about the week ahead. Or it can just be a huge amount of extra things you can get done in the week. Or have a day off. If, for example, you run your own business or you work for yourself or you've got that flexibility, have a day off because you've saved that time. That's when we start feeling superhero, but we're not. We have to understand that we are human. We need to be looking after ourselves. We need to be acknowledging our mistakes. So really important to be thinking about this. So I'm just going to wrap up now, but before I do, I just want to come across to the chat and see if there are any questions or comments. There's a lot of information there, and we intentionally keep these sessions quite short because I know you've got a lot to do and a lot to get on with. I've shared a lot of ideas there around using a timer, managing our distractions, understanding why we procrastinate, the dust model. I'd love you all to put in the chat just 1 or 2 things that you've taken out of the session today that you might be able to put into practice. Now, remembering dust, thanks, Alistair. Remembering, I will send a follow-up email and you will also get that The daily checklist. Thanks, Stacey. I'm going to put the link to that in the chat for you in a minute. You'll all get a follow-up email with these links as well. Look at these comments coming through. Thank you. Pomodoro, weekly review, Forest app, make an achievable daily checklist. Yeah, those 5 things on a post-it note are really important. Trying the Pomodoro technique. This is great. Thanks, everyone. Shipping from Seth Godin's linchpin. To have visual examples of different ways to create a master action and project list. Di, I don't have visual examples here as such for this session. If you want to send me an email, Di, with that same question, I'll put my email address in here for you again. Send me an email with that same question just so I remember. I'm happy to share some ideas with you. All right, everyone, I'll just wrap up now and get you to do one more quick poll. So as a lot of you know, we run a whole range of different workshops. Very welcome. Please get in touch with me if we can help you with anything around working from home, virtual meetings, email management, meeting management, leading remote teams. There's so much that we do. It's hard to summarize. We run these mostly for corporate groups, corporate type workshops, but we can also do one-on-one coaching if anyone wants help with that. Graham's got a podcast called Beyond Busy if you want to check in with that. Now, before you all leave, I would love you to do a quick survey, because these sessions we do at no charge. We just put it out there. We love sharing content. I'd love you to do a quick survey and just let me know what you think of the session. I'll put the link in the chat, but you can also just scan that QR code. There's the link in the chat for you. There are some really good ideas in here. Thanks, Sandra. I know it's a short session. I feel like I'd love to give you so much more value, but there's only a limited amount of time. I've put the link there to the SurveyMonkey chat, SurveyMonkey feedback. Yeah, Graham's podcast is called Beyond Busy. And Graham is a very creative thinker. I love the way he interviews people. He had Seth Godin on there last month, actually. Seth Godin, the author of Linchpin, strangely, and that's not why I'm talking about Linchpin. Are there any more questions? Very happy to take any questions or comments. Thanks, Phil. It is short, sharp, and straight to the point, isn't it? Thanks, Norm. Appreciate you joining us from Queensland. I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions. Thank you, Gavin. There's Gavin, one of our ninjas on the line. Good to see you, Gavin. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Alison. All right, if there are any questions, I'm really happy to stay and answer. I'll stop the recording now.